you would have heard at 11 o'clock, just before 11 o'clock, that extraordinary decision. It would seem extraordinary that the traditional census is going to be scrapped. Now, if you remember rightly, the public sector made a dog's breakfast of the census in 2018. They believed that it could be all done online, and they abandoned the traditional way of doing a census, which was done up until 2013, and which has stood this country well, not just over years, but decades and generations. I think the first one that we did was 1951, in actual fact, from memory. But they've been held every 5 years. They are critical to the decision making and the planning of central government. They've always been deemed so. Every other Western country that I've just gone through on Google still does them, but not New Zealand. Why? We are joined by the Minister of Statistics, Dr. Shane Reti. Thank you so much for joining us, Minister. I'm a bit stunned by this announcement. How long have you been thinking about this one?
Oh, this has been in process for quite a period of time, Michael. By the way, nice to catch up with you, mate. If we look back, actually, the 2018 census, administrative data started to build around that. Even more in the 2023 census, admin data was a bigger contributor. And we're now at a place where, to advance economic growth, to get us that quality data in a timely way, that we're ready to move to administrative data first. But here's the difference, because I took your intro there as to those who have tried online data and so on and so forth. We'll also be supporting the administrative data with two key elements. One is a community attribute survey that will survey every year 5% of households, and secondly, a targeted sample survey of those populations that we might miss. So we're wrapping around any gaps we might find in the admin data. There are actually other jurisdictions who do this. The Nordic states have a primarily admin data approach. The UK was progressing that way, and then in the past 24 hours they've said, look, we're not ready. We'll look to be ready in the next cycle. And Australia are also looking to do this, because they're striking the same problems as us, Michael. One, the cost. It was 126 in 2018, 325 million, almost tripled in 2023, and the projections put was it was going to be a $400 million task in 2028. How can that be? That's not tenable for anyone. So the problem we're trying to solve there is people participating less in census, and obviously the cost. So it is ambitious. It's a big, bold, ambitious reset
but that's because
for New Zealand.
Yeah, but wait on. That's because in 2018 you changed the way in which you did it. So not you, but the then government of the time, Shane. So in 2013 it worked fine, thanks very much. You went around, somebody knocked on my door, they gave me my form, they got it back again, they tracked down the hard to find people, they did their job. And then in 2018 somebody's, just like the people probably advising you, came to the minister at the time and said, oh, we think we can save you some money, and botched it completely. I mean, it was a complete botch. It wasn't that they were trying something new. They'd never tried it before. And then guess what? They stuffed it up. The minister, the person at the time, had to resign. 2023, you just said, oh, well, they still, it was mostly still an online base. They didn't go back to the way they did it in 2013, which is why the statistics are so unreliable. And now you're trying to tell me that they're going to go even more towards administrative data and give me a better result than I could have got in 2013. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's correct. And if we look back at 2018,
Nonsense.
There were so many errors. So many errors there. I remember litigating that at the time as well. People received a code, or were supposed to receive a code that let them log in online. Well, I was in Northland at the time, and we were significantly underrepresented in that census because people didn't get the codes. If you don't have a post box, how the heck are you supposed to have something posted to you? So it was.
No, that's why somebody came to your door. Remember? That's the way the old census.
The online part was you received a code and you logged in and were supposed to.
Yes, but that's why it failed. We told them that at the time. Yeah, and we said this is not going to work.
Yeah, I agree that was the flaw there. The difference here is that substantively, I don't have a person involvement other than the two surveys to supplement the data. It's what's already existing in existing data sets. That's the key difference.
Here's a simple thing. I want to be able to work out how many, let's just take, how many iwi members there are out throughout New Zealand. So break down my iwi into how many ngāpuhi, how many, blah, blah, blah. or my ethnic surveys. How many ethnicities do I have in this country, and what are they? The census gives me that data. How will this new scheme deliver those same results?
Yeah, those are two really good examples because part of the current weakness with administrative data is ethnicity levels 3 and 4, which is the really granular parts of ethnicity. Iwi affiliation roughly looks like it sits at 60%, so we've got a lot of work to do to lift that up. And that's where the targeted sampling and the engagement, which has already been happening for some period of time with iwi and with data sovereignty people, that's how we're going to pick that up. But those are two areas right now, iwi affiliation and level 3 and 4 ethnicity levels, that do have some deficits that the targeted sampling will need to pick up.
When you say other countries, as I said, Australia, Canada, England and Wales, people that we like to compare ourselves with in terms of administration and the style of government, they are all carrying on with their censuses. I've just checked that this morning. You've conceded that yourself. They are larger populations, and in two of those cases, infinitely greater geographical areas. If they can do it, we can't. Why? Because is the problem administrative? In other words, you just don't have bright enough bureaucrats in Wellington to be able to devise a scheme. Is it really that New Zealand's only got 5.5 million people stuck in a rather, 1,200 length kilometres?
Oh, it was the cost. What blew out in the tripling, if you like, of the last census was the actual field cost, the cost of having enumerators knock on doors. That's substantive. There was actually a contribution from Cyclone Gabrielle, but I think it was more around about 36 million, not a tripling in cost. To mention those countries that you're talking about, they are all moving that way. The UK has been moving this way and just feel that they're not ready. That's their recent announcement for their next census. They're going to continue progressing towards Australia exactly the same because the Stats New Zealand team have been in collaboration with each of them. So while they may not be ready here and now, this is the direction they're heading.
Well, until they make that decision, I guess, listen, I know what you've been told by your bureaucrats, and you're repeating that line now, Shane, but I just got to say, they haven't moved that way. They are planning the next census. You say that you've looked at the prototypes of the Nordic countries, I'm assuming Norway, Sweden, Denmark, much more homogenous societies than our own, I have to say. Are you saying that your stats people have been there and said, well, this is the prototype, it works elsewhere?
No, well, the particular collaborations have been with Australia and with the UK, but what we have done is observed how they've been able to get up an administrative census in the Nordic countries. One of the things they do have is a population register, which is sort of a requirement as you move from place to place to update the register. That is a difference to what we have here, but that's not at all insurmountable.
Right, so they, in other words, you might argue more intrusive, if you like, which is how they gather their data. Is that what you're saying to me?
That is correct. They have a population register. Yep.
Yeah, okay. So we're not proposing to do that in this country?
No, we're not.
All right, so if we're not going to do that and we're not going to do the census, then we're on our own, aren't we? We're sort of like, we're prototype one at the moment, aren't we, in terms of making sure that we can replace our census with something else. No other country in the world's doing it. We're doing it. We must be the prototype, are we?
Oh, we're well advanced. The other countries were well advanced as well. They just ran out of runway because what's happening here to make sure we can deliver this, we pushed the census out from 2028 to 2030 to give ourselves more time to make sure that we can have a quality full census in 2030. Between now and then, there won't be a vacuum. We'll actually be putting out staged releases, population data, for example, starting 2027, 2028, 2029, but the next full census will be 2030.
So how will I know, for example, in terms of the census, population movement within regions, another reason. I mean, a whole series of things flow from that. The building of schools, the construction of hospitals, the funding of health services. If I don't have a census upon which to rely, how will I get reliable data that gives me that kind of inter-regional flow in this country?